Well, hello, everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to our Fireside chat with a special guest from the Kelley School of Business at Indiana University, Bipin Prabhakar, who is the chair of the Info Systems graduate programs at Kelley. Welcome, Bipin.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me, John.
Absolutely. So I want to know about the MS in Info Systems. It's a program that attracts a fairly sizable cohort every year. I think your latest class profile shows 127 new admits to the program. And surprisingly, a high percentage are women, which really shocked me, close to 40%, which for a very techie program like this, I never would have imagined. What do you learn in a master's in Info Systems?
That's a great question. Actually, it is one of the things that we have done to attract a very diverse pool because most people don't really understand what a master's in information systems is all about, and particularly from a business school, right? So, our
Yep.
definition of information systems is that we create value for a business using technology. Right. So whether that is opening up new business opportunities or reimagining business processes, finding new ways of engaging with the customer, new ways of designing products, or managing your products themselves, with many businesses' products actually becoming digital. So that's kind of our emphasis, right? It's all about creating value for a business using technology.
It's such a broad definition. You know, in the old days, when we thought of the person who was the head of information systems, basically that was the person who dealt with acquiring or outsourcing the plumbing of the
Mhm.
technology in the company. Your emphasis in the program seems to be more on decision making and leading in the tech field than it is about worrying about the plumbing.
Absolutely, right? So one way of thinking about businesses is purely from a technology standpoint, how they leverage their technology investments. For some, it is just the plumbing, right? For many, it is rapidly becoming the business. It doesn't really matter whether you are selling a financial product or a car, right? The car manufacturers are starting to think about the car as a platform for generating revenue, which absolutely means that technology is going to become a major driver, right? So we have intentionally positioned the program to kind of cater to that audience, if you will, where technology becomes a major driver of their business strategy.
Now, Bipin, do you need to be an engineer in your undergraduate studies to take advantage of this program or not really?
For us, not really, right? So one of the really good things that we have done is we've launched an initiative called the Plus Kelly program. And the idea behind that is, if I've got two kids, one that just graduated college and another one who is a freshman here at Kelly, right? So for most college students, right, when they come in, the influence in high school is about pursuing their passion. Nobody really talks about career options, right? And I think I actually believe that having a strong foundational undergraduate program in whatever discipline it is that excites you, right? Because at
Yeah.
that age, that passion is very important, right? So develop your critical thinking skills, develop your problem solving skills. And what we have created is, if you don't have a technology and a business background, we run a program in the summer called the Jumpstart program, which
Huh.
basically is a bridge program, right? So you graduate from undergrad, come into a bridge program, spend the summer with us, and you would roll right into the MSIS program. And by using that kind of model, we also are able to facilitate our Kelley undergraduates and the computer science, informatics students who come in to have an accelerated experience by skipping that summer program. So they graduate, go do a summer internship, and then merge in with the group that did the Jumpstart program in the fall, and they're able to graduate in 2 semesters.
So Bipin, someone like me, a political science and English major, would definitely need the bridge program.
Absolutely, absolutely.
How many of the entering class actually takes the bridge program? Would it be half or less than half?
It's just under half.
Okay, so you get a good group of people, good
Yep.
critical mass. They
Mhm.
get to know each other over the summer. And
Yes.
then they're more or less an even playing with the people who are from a more engineering or tech background, so that everyone is more or less equal
Mhm.
to get the most out of the program. Now, there is experiential learning in the program. I know you have a capstone project that often involves a project with a company,
Mhm.
and you've had some great companies participate in that, from Cummins and Baxter and Deloitte and E&Y and others. What are the nature of some of the assignments that the students have to do in that capstone project?
So, when you think about experiential learning, we actually start week one of the program with a case competition. And then we end with that capstone project, which runs for the full 15 weeks of the spring semester, right?
Oh, wow,
Right.
long, yeah.
Yeah. So when you look at the type of projects that they do, it could be very different. It could vary from, looking at the latest technology stack for, let's say Deloitte's system integration practice,
Mhm.
and saying, how can we do some use cases to say, look at beacon technology and look at retail, and how can we use this beacon technology to create a different customer experience for our retail customers. Or at the other end, you could have an organization that says, we are looking at a business model that needs to evolve. How can we find new revenue streams by engaging with the customer in a different way?
I see.
So very strategic all the way to being fairly technical. And we do quite a bit of matchmaking in terms of helping students work with the right kind of client.
Right. And right off the bat, you put them in case competition?
Yes, week one.
Wow.
Yes.
But wait, they haven't learned anything yet to even be of value in a case.
Well, absolutely, right? However, when we say week one, that's week one after the Jumpstart program, or week one after their internship between undergrad and the master's program. So we are basically kind of saying, okay, you've learned quite a bit as an undergrad. Now let's try and understand what a real IS problem is, right? So let's tackle a real world problem. We've partnered with EY for the last several years for our kickoff case competition. And they usually bring in a client engagement that they have recently had. And this year, it was actually one that is currently ongoing. Of course, we change the name of the client and throw in enough things in there so that they cannot identify the real case. But it also is a mechanism for the students to jumpstart their teamwork. So we have a single team that runs the entire first 12 weeks of the fall semester. And there, they have to gel together, right? So they find their team and they get a case and say, on Monday, you get the case kickoff. Friday morning, they're presenting. So it's a very rapid fire way of getting them to work together with their team, get really good at working with their team, figure out their differences because you have 4 days.
Now you call it the 3+1 case competition. Why 3+1?
So the 3+1 is actually a different case competition.
Ah, you have another one.
You have another one. So in the 3+1 case competition that happens in the middle of the spring semester, so the 3 represents 3 undergraduate students and the 1 represents an MSIS mentor. So
Got it.
back to our early discussion of what is information systems. So we found the 3+1 to be a fantastic way of helping students understand what information systems actually entails, right? So we open it up to all undergrad students across campus. We always get some freshman teams from the KLLC, which is just absolutely adorable and fascinating. We actually have had freshman teams get into the finals, uh, right? And we go across campus. So we'll get the psychology major, we'll get the political science major, we'll get some from the hard science. And of course, we'll have the Kelley undergrads, some of whom make it a point to win some money, right? So we put substantial scholarship money on the table. We have a number of corporate sponsors that will partner with us, and we will use a case that does not require a whole lot of technical knowledge that they can somewhat intuitively solve if they are smart without diving too much into it. We kick off with a case workshop. So we actually teach them, for many of them, this would be the first case
Wow.
that they've ever
Yeah.
done. They would have heard about this case thing that happens at the graduate level.
Yeah.
So we teach them how to do a case, then we give them a case and assign them to a current MSIS student who will serve as a mentor, and they will guide them through that case competition.
Plus, you get your graduate students to have some leadership
Absolutely.
chances here because they're leading these teams
Mhm.
of undergraduates in these projects.
Right. And it's a fine line for them, right? So we tell them you're mentoring them, but you cannot solve the case, right? So they have to avoid the temptation of leading them to victory. By giving them the solution, they need to lead them to victory by getting them to come up with the best presentation that they can.
Right. Now, Bipin, if I were able to ask your students, what are the three most important aspects of the program that resonate most with them, what would they tell me?
So I think they'd start out with teamwork,
Mm,
right? It's teamwork, teamwork, teamwork. Somebody actually computed, and this is probably going to scare off a lot of prospective students. Uh, but in our first 12 weeks of the program, so from the fall start to Thanksgiving, we have 38 team assignments.
wow, that's remarkable.
Yes, and that's in addition to all of the individual assignments and exams that they have, right?
Yeah, but
Uh,
again, that's real world because
it's
when they
real world.
graduate, they're going to
Yeah.
be working with others, collaborating with others on a daily basis, sometimes in virtual teams, sometimes in physical presence. So that's very real world and getting people used to the dynamics of a team.
And the second piece would be experiential learning, right?
Yes.
It's the fact that even when they're doing a classroom assignment, even if it's on pen and paper, if it's a case, it's still derived from a real world scenario, right? So our pedagogical model, if you will, is we are going to teach you how to do it. And then from all of the deliverables that you have to submit, you are going to show us that you are able to actually apply it to a real world problem, right? And the third piece, which I think they will all say is it's hard. It's the hardest thing that they have ever done. In spite of all the things that they heard about the program and how hard it is, it's harder.
Yes. Which is
They're
why
great
I
with
think, and you require a standardized test as well, right, to get in?
Yeah, so we require a standardized test from students who are not coming from US universities and
Okay.
from, obviously with a good number coming from the Kelley School, right?
Yes.
If we don't trust our own undergrads to have the quality, then, it goes without saying, right? So we are very driven by academic metrics from the undergraduate program. We will ask for a test score if we are not convinced. So a student makes a case that now, my undergrad GPA is not really reflective of what I am capable of. We're like, fine, now, I will buy that. Let's see a test score that says that the GPA is not a good indicator, right? So we are very proud actually, if you will, that the average incoming GPA is a 3.6,
Oh,
right?
wow.
If you
Yeah.
say that, that's a good number from Kelley and from our Luddy school, along with some of the other major U.S. institutions. Now that's a pretty high GPA in
Yeah,
undergrad.
that's pretty good. That's absolutely right.
Right.
And what kind of careers do people go off in after getting this degree? What do the outcomes look like?
So the outcomes, much like our definition, where you could kind of take this degree in many ways, the outcomes are also quite varied. We do have a significant presence in the technology consulting industry, right? So that very definition of information systems as creating value for businesses, you can do it within corporate or you can do it within consulting, right? So we have a good exposure to the consulting industry. The big four, along with Accenture, IBM, have been big recruiters. We are starting to see quite a bit of interest from the technology firms,
Hmm.
Salesforce, Facebook, Google, those guys. Their larger recruiting mechanism has always been around computer science and product development,
Yes.
while our students are much more into product management, project management, IT risk and governance. So we are starting to see some of that, and of course, big corporations like Whirlpool or Cummins or General Motors have always been a big part of our recruiting, right? And these are firms that internally are using technology as a major differentiator. So it kind of fits in with that definition that we have, that it's all about technology creating value for the business.
Now, I know that Kelly has a great reputation in career management, professional management.
Mhm.
Is that part of the program, or is it so specialized that you don't get exposure to things like Me Inc., which is in the MBA program, which is an opportunity to be very introspective about who you are, where you want to go, and to build on your strengths?
So we do have GCS or Graduate Career Services playing a major role in their career coaching. So we don't do Me Inc. We actually do a mini Me, if you will.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's a 1.5 year program with many students directly going out into the job market. Our goal really is to start getting them ready to hit the market in a hurry, right? So we are now in this is week 6 of the program, week 7 of the program. And I also already have a few people that have received offers, and the
Really?
employers are
Wow.
pushing it earlier and earlier, which puts a lot of pressure on us. Given again that some of our good number of our students are Kelley undergrads, uh, they are highly sought after, right? And then you add an undergraduate degree in marketing or in supply chain or in business analytics, and then you add a graduate degree on top of that, and you started with a very smart student, right? You now have a really amazing combination of talent. So they do get a lot of career coaching from GCS. They get assigned a career coach, much like the MBAs do. But the career coaching is much more accelerated because the time to market for at least half of these students is very short.
Is there an internship that they partake in too, or is it so accelerated there's no time for an internship?
So we do require an internship, right?
You
So
do?
we do. So what
Okay.
we do is if you are graduating from a US undergraduate institution with all of your prerequisites done, which is, we need a major or a minor in business and a degree in information systems, computer science, informatics. If you have that combination, then you will do an internship between your undergraduate program and MSIS, right?
Ah, okay.
Graduate in May, spend the summer interning, and then come into the program. You finish up in 1 year. For those students that come from political science or from history or from music, for them, because they use up that summer being in the Jumpstart program, they will come into MSIS, finish their part of their coursework, and
Uh-huh.
we offer multiple internship options. We have the traditional 3 month summer internship. We have some students doing a 7 or 8 month internship, and we have a few with some well-established partners of ours that do 11-month internships. So they actually intern from the middle of January through the middle of December, and then come back to finish the
Wow.
program. So,
Wow. So it's really for pre-experienced students, but I imagine you also get some students who have some work experience full time, right?
yes. So if somebody comes to us with relevant work experience, and we do define that relevancy somewhat loosely, right? It doesn't have to be directly information systems, but in a big business, in a role that actually added value, whether it's in marketing or finance, or you are an engineer, that's fine. So with those guys, we do waive the internship requirement, saying that you met the requirement through your 1, 2, 3 years of work experience. So um, we'll put them on the accelerated track, provided that internship requirement can be met by substituting the prior work experience. Also, from a Kelley School program portfolio standpoint, we kind of say, the 4 year, 5 year mark of experience is when we'd encourage them to think about the full time MBA.
Right.
And probably more at that 8 or 9 year mark, we'll say, no, you should be going into the Kelley Direct MBA. Right.
Exactly.
So in some ways, we've kind of nicely segmented the market with the specialized master's programs providing the early career opportunity. And then the MBA provides the opportunity next if you have been working for a while after your undergrad.
Sure. So what's your advice to largely an undergraduate? And we know that even undergraduates who are close to graduation often are uncertain about what to do with their lives.
Yes.
How do you know that this is for you? Is there a framework? Is there a test? Is there a way to decide? Yeah, this is a good idea for me.
So, if they are able to engage with us, we will help them make that decision. A lot of times we will use our current students who have come from a similar academic backgrounds to kind of serve as their mentors to
Mm,
answer the many questions, right?
right.
So um, the one way that I try to tell them to think about this is undergraduate provides a very strong foundation, right? So if you have a degree in the hard sciences, well, you spend a lot of time in the lab, you have a very strong capabilities in mathematics or chemistry, right? You have a process orientation, right? You're very smart.
Yeah.
Now, what we want to do is we will take those basic skill set and give you a domain to apply to, right?
Mhm.
So a number of our students have started here as pre-med, right? And then they hit the first organic chemistry class and decide, yeah, this is
Not for me.
not for me. Or sometimes they will actually go much further. And I've actually had three students go to med school after MSIS. So if you think about the
Wow.
broad reach of the program,
Yeah.
and what they are saying is, well, ultimately, medicine is about technology and it's about business. This may not pay off now. So, students who have got an MCAT score that have got a great GPA, but have a gap year,
Yeah.
they have actually gravitated toward us as well. But
Hmm.
what I tell the undergrads is think about your skill set, right? We are going to give you a domain to apply to. Oh, by the way, whatever you studied, so if you come from a pre-med healthcare background, you are going to be a great candidate to go into healthcare technology consulting or to go into Eli Lilly or a Baxter or a Roche, because for you, the healthcare industry is what you really wanted to do. We
Right.
are just enabling you to function in that industry in a different context that you probably never thought about when you were an undergrad.
Very good. Well, what a pleasure, Bipin, to see you again. Wish it were in person, but
I,
we're all Zooming all the time now.
Yes, and this is becoming somewhat, natural to us, right? We all spend so much time on these calls, and that's also a skill that the students need to develop now, right? And I've been telling the current
Indeed.
students,
And
don't come.
I bet you the capstone project is virtual now.
It is virtual,
Mhm.
right? And they have a core project as well that is going to be fully virtual. So
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and your insights. So I think we learned a lot about the Masters in Information Systems at the Kelley School. It's actually called the MSIS.
yes,
That's the acronym.
that's the acronym.
And it's largely a pre-experience program for people who have a real interest in technology and applying it in companies and using it to make decisions. And fascinated by the broadness and the spectrum of possibilities in the program compared to the old definition of what an info systems person was all
Right.
about. Totally different today.
Yes.
So thank you for spending the time with us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, right? As we tell our students, bring your passion. We will give you the rest of it to become an IT professional.
There you go. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Thanks for watching our Fireside Chat.